Hello, everyone. Can you hear and see me? Yes. Okay. I can see some thumbs up. Okay. Nice to see virtually all of you. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to talk a bit about mindful consumption by design. So I wanted to start by giving a bit of context, like why is it important to talk about mindful consumption and how UX comes into the picture. So I'm not sure if you have heard, but we are kind of in the middle of an environmental crisis. We should focus a lot on sustainability, making our future livable and more sustainable. And then the reason why we are in this environmental crisis is partially or kind of driven by the resource consumption that happens. And that resource consumption is also driven by our materialistic culture, buying things that we don't need or don't even want just to keep up with all the social media trends. So I have the next slide. So we are consuming too many things that we don't even need or don't even want, which has an environmental impact in many different senses. So, for example, it means also that we need to take natural resources from the planet, leaving the environment devastated. But also it means that we are creating a lot of waste, polluting the planet, and also creating heaps and heaps of waste that are going to decompose and leach chemicals into the landfill for centuries. So if overconsumption is the problem, one part of the solution is to reduce our consumption. So we also reduce the environmental impact as a consequence of this consumption. So reducing our material extraction, and waste creation. So that is where mindful consumption comes into the picture. Mindful consumption means that we are consuming less, more intentionally, slower, making more informed and sustainable purchase decisions. And then where does design and UX comes into the picture? A lot of this excessive consumption that is hurting our planet happens online, and in the future it's only going to increase. And that is where us designers and the UX designers come into the picture, because we are the ones who are designing online shopping experiences. And then as it was mentioned earlier, these online shopping experiences through these deceptive patterns or dark patterns influences what and how much we buy. So as designers, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to make these online shopping experiences as sustainable as possible, especially when, for example, when it comes to fashion, every third piece of clothing is bought online. So that means that we have one third of all the consumption that we can influence. And so this is kind of like the space that I want to talk to you about today. We are going to go through a bit about pushy patterns and how they contribute to overconsumption. We are going to talk about how overconsumption can be negative even for the business. And we are also going to talk about how to design e-commerce better, more sustainable. And hopefully we are going to have time for a Q&A. I also wanted to introduce myself. So hi, I'm Anna, and I've been working as a UX researcher for a complex SaaS product in the past almost 4 years. And as a side project, I'm driving Kind Commerce, where I do many different projects or activities, speaking engagement, workshop facilitations, and the focus of kind commerce is always about sustainability and mostly focused on behavioral design for sustainable behavior, focusing on sustainable consumption. So I've been developing resources in this area. I'm working on a framework, so I'm really happy to share my knowledge and passion about this topic with you guys today. And I also wanted to mention that I understand that not all of you are e-commerce designers here today, maybe none of you. Actually, anyone in the audience is working with e-commerce? Oh, nice, a few, okay. Good. So if you're working in e-commerce, I hope I'm going to give you hands-on tips on how to improve user experience in e-commerce, making also the experience more sustainable for the user and for the planet. And if you're a designer but you don't work in e-commerce, I'm also hoping that you are going to have insights about how to think about sustainability when it comes to UX design in a bit more systemic way. And then if you are here just listening as a consumer, maybe a bit you're going to recognize some of the dark patterns, but hopefully I can show you some new dark patterns that you haven't known about before. And so you can recognize these patterns later and avoid them in your future shopping endeavors. So with that, let's start with a few pushy patterns. And I like to use the term pushy pattern instead of dark patterns because pushy patterns go a bit beyond just deceptive patterns and dark patterns. So it's a bit more overarching concept than just dark patterns. But to start with, I have a few examples of dark patterns, and I'm sure most of you have experienced and know about this. But the first one here is, for example, changing value perception of a product by attracting visually, using visual design to attract our attention to the discount that you are going to get. So your immediate thought is like, okay, now I'm going to get a great deal. I need to get this item on this very good price. The other one is scarcity, reminding us or the user that there is only a certain amount of items from this item, so you should buy before it's too late. And then adding a layer of urgency with the countdown clock. And as you know, these patterns are very prevalent in e-commerce. Indeed, most of the material out there written for designers and written for online retailers actually encouraging us to use these pushy patterns, nudging to turn browsers into buyers. So we have a lot of resources, courses, podcasts, books to learn about how to use these psychological tricks and how to manipulate the consumer decisions in online environments. And I have a quote from one of these resources. So it goes like, people don't like missing out, and this anxiety intensifies the desire to buy before it's too late. So if time itself isn't running out, then limited stock can be the ideal way to push interested buyers over the edge. So I just wanted to illustrate how obviously intentional these patterns are, in a sense that they really are implemented to get us to buy things that we don't need, but because we are anxious and because we are pushed to make those purchase decisions. And then luckily or not luckily, unluckily, there are companies and products that productize this knowledge. So you don't even have to implement these patterns by yourself. You can just buy a third-party app to do the nudging and the pushing for you. So, for example, this app says that they use this notification to build trust and create urgency to turn visitors into customers effortlessly. And then there is another one calling themselves the FOMO app for Shopify, and they pride themselves to encourage reactive purchases, increasing the desire with FOMO and through social proof marketing. So so pushy patterns are very prevalent in e-commerce. And the next part I wanted to talk about goes beyond a bit deceptive, beyond the deceptive patterns or dark patterns, and brings into the brings the "don't make me think" aspect into the picture. And I have a quote again, which says, "The quicker you can whiz them through the checkout, the more seamless the journey becomes, and the fewer the chances are for the shoppers to back out." So again, this quote just highlights that very intentionally we are designing checkout processes or e-commerce experiences to make it as quick as possible, so the users don't have the chance to back out, to actually think through their purchases. So what are the patterns that are used for this kind of impulse behavior? Before I go into the patterns, I also wanted to show you this. I mapped out the user thinking process or user journey as we go through to make a purchase. So first, we become aware about the product, and then we have to go through some consideration, like, for example, do I really like this item, or is it just I just like the influencer who is selling me the ideal lifestyle through this product. And then when we established a certain desire for the item, we can also be more practical and consider, for example, can I even afford this item? Will I even use this item? If I buy, which color should I buy? And when I have a reasonable ground, then I'm going to make a purchase. But as we want to whiz users through this process as quickly as possible, really the goal is to skip as many steps as possible and just cut out the critical thinking. The quicker the user buys, the better. So the patterns supporting this cutting out the critical thinking is, for example, the buy now with one click instead of the add to cart, because with buy now you are going to make a purchase with one click, as opposed to, for example, adding to cart. Then you add something to your cart, you have to check your cart, which gives friction, so you can still back out, you can still think about your purchase. Another way to cut down the steps in the purchase process is, for example, with this quick shop. So like, instead of encouraging the user to go to the product page to check out the material, how to take care of this piece of item, you can just select the size and check out. And then something that I'm sure most of you are familiar with is the free shipping trick. So as you are about to check out, you are reminded that if you spend a bit more, you are going to get free shipping on your purchase. And coincidentally, there is also on the same page, you can add something to your cart. So you don't need to do the difficult task of thinking, going back, browsing, finding something that you actually like or actually need. You can just add something, anything, with one click to your cart and happily proceed with your free shipping. So from a behavioral perspective, what happens is that you or the user is shown an incentive, and then the required action or behavior to achieve that incentive is made very quick and easy, dare I say, mindless. And in this case, the a required behavior just happens to be excessive consumption because you are buying something that you probably didn't plan to buy, and then you probably don't need, maybe not even want. And finally, I wanted to bring an example from social media, because social media is now becoming a marketplace, and we are very quickly going from awareness to purchase right in the app. So users don't even need to go to a retail space anymore. They can just make the purchase in the app. And again, you can see that the buy now button is the primary button, for example, as opposed to the add to cart button. So now we have seen how it is from the design perspective. We, as designers, we are encouraged to make it as quick as possible for our users. And a lot of the times it is framed as we are making what is it called? A favor for the user. We are saving them time. We are lifting burden off their shoulders so they don't have to think too much about their purchases. But how does it feel from a user perspective? And I have a quote again from a user, from an article actually, where the author describes her experience. She says, "The order maybe took 15 seconds. I selected my size and put the shoe in my cart, and my phone automatically filled my login credentials and added my new credit card number. I had completed some version of the online checkout process a million times before, but never could I remember it being quite so spontaneous and thoughtless. If it's going to be this easy all the time, I thought to myself, I'm cooked." So financially cooked, she says. And yeah, she concludes in the article that it is just too easy to buy stuff you don't want, and that online shopping is too fast for good decisions. And we have seen through the multiple examples that it is intentionally designed to be too fast for good decisions. So what we have established so far is that this excessive consumption, thanks to these pushy patterns, is hurting our environment. It's not good for our consumers. But how about the business then? And again, I have a quote. How does pushy patterns impact the business? So the quote says, "When people start using psychology to convert users, you can quickly find yourself in a world of manipulation. That is a dangerous road to go down. Although psychological techniques such as dark patterns work, they also alienate users. That leads to buyer's remorse and bad reviews. Ultimately, that is going to cost the business in more returns, more support calls, and more negative PR." So clearly, there are multiple different negative consequences of using these pushy patterns. But I wanted to focus on the more return parts, because that is becoming returns from these remorse purchases. They are becoming a very heavy financial burden for companies. So returns, or 20% of online purchases are returned, and is even higher in apparel. And it means that only in the US, companies lost $247 billion due to this return rate. But on top of this lost sales, there are extra costs that the retailers need to bear. Because return logistics, or getting the items back to the shelf to resell, is an expensive process. Retailers need to pay for labor, packaging, storage. So it's around $33 per item to return items, to get them back to the shelf. And then the tricky thing is that there is no guarantee that the retailer is going to be able to resell that item. So trend cycles are very quick nowadays. So if users are sending back items after 2 weeks, after a month, by the time they are going to get restocked, they might be out of style. No one is going to buy them. And because of this uncertainty, if they are going to be able to resell or not, many retailers send these returned items to the landfill. Instead of paying that $33 to restock and not resell, they are sending the items to the landfill. So 20% of returned items go straight to the landfill. Even if they are perfectly fine, they can easily end up in the landfill. So coming back to this, again, how is the impact on the business? How does using pushy patterns to encourage this excessive consumption impact businesses? Not great. So we have a very strong case against pushy patterns. And this is not just me making this up. It is shown in actual retailer practices. So for example, H&M, Zara, and Shein, they started to apply return fees. So in a BBC article, they explained that if returns fees give consumers pause to shop more consciously, say, for example, double checking their measurements instead of bracketing, then companies can end up reducing their overall return costs. So starting a return or starting asking for a return fee might be an easy solution for the retailer, but on the other side, the consumer feel punished because they feel that I need to order multiple sizes. You retailers are not doing your job helping me figure out which size should I buy. There are inconsistencies across brands, between brands. How should I figure out when to buy which size? So why am I punished with the return fee when you don't help me? Another example of, for example, how H&M is trying to combat these or like lowering the return rate is reminding their consumers to check again the sizing guide. And again, placing the burden on the consumer to solve the problem of overconsumption. They also mention returns have an environmental impact, which I have a bone to pick with because I think this is such a vague statement. We just learned that 20% of those returns end up in the landfill. I wish they were be a bit more specific. They would give a bit more tangible, like what does this impact mean, so the user can actually feel that impact and not just like vaguely, oh yeah, it has an environmental impact. And I also wanted to add that they refer the user to the sizing guide. Yet, when I was browsing for research purposes, the H&M site, they don't have a sizing guide. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's a bug. Actually, I don't. But there is no sizing guide currently on the H&M website. So if you refer your customer to the sizing guide, at least have one. Okay, so I talked a lot about the problem space, what not to do, what are the problems, but then what do we do? How can we actually help our users to be more sustainable in their consumption? And that is where kind commerce comes into the picture. I have brought you a few patterns that we can use. And when I say kind commerce patterns, I refer to helping the user being like slowing down, being more informed, making sustainable decisions, making more mindful decisions. So how can we do that? For example, the first one, very simple, very straightforward, just ditch fake FOMO, fake scarcity, fake reviews, everything fake, just stop it. And then I just saw this LinkedIn post today when EU is calling Shein out to respect the EU consumer laws. So, for example, stop using fake discounts, pressure selling, misleading sustainability claims. Just stop that. Fairly easy. If you have a, if you have a good product, then you shouldn't default to these deceptive practices anyway. Second one, we can actually proactively help our customers find their size. We talked a bit about it before, but the sizing is a big problem of why consumers buy more than what they need. They buy different sizes so they can choose at home. I'm sure most of you have done it yourself because sizing is a tricky word. So I have an example how we can do it more proactively, helping our users. So for example, on this website, we can go to size and fit. So, wait, I also wanted to show you this. This is a bad example. So from ASOS, when it comes to sizing guide, you open this and then what you see as a sizing guide is just what is it called, like the switch between the different metric systems, and it's like not helpful. Like where are the actual measurements of the garment? Like how do I know how long it is, how long the sleeve is? Give me something. But it doesn't give us anything. But this one, the sizing guide already gives us a bit more information about the item, so bust, waist, and hip measurements. But then on top of that, we can also ask, what's my size? We can fill out a couple of things. I'm not sure about why the age is important here, but they have a couple more things to choose from to see how my body is shaped. And then they are going to put this in their database, and then they are going to give me a recommended size. Like, okay, now I know that I should order a size 4 from this item. So this is already a step forward in helping the user proactively trying to figure out their size. The next step in the evolution is an example from a startup that is actually from Sweden, where I live, and I forgot to reset it. But so this is how you arrive here, and then you click on find your size, and sorry, okay. So again, no, I wanted to. Okay, whatever. So you click on find your size. You have to give some measurements of your body. Then based on that, they are going to recommend models, and then you can choose which resembles most your body shape. And then you will click, and then it's going to, of course, using AI, it's going to model the item on this model. And you can switch between the items, so you can see how it changes on the model's body. Your recommended size is already highlighted, so you can just go and buy. Okay, so the third pattern is enable informed decision making. So I wanted to show you Nudie Jeans because they are doing a great job in showing every little detail about the product. So for example, they show, like how and where a product was made, what is it made from. So you can drill down in these different aspects. You can even see which factories were visited by the company. You can see detailed breakdown on the climate and the water impact, helping you understand and make informed decisions about your purchases. And then you can also help your users by providing repair and care guides, how to take care of your clothes. So, for example, Asket is doing a great job, like providing different guides on their different materials and garments. And finally, when it comes to helping the user slow down, or at least not cutting out the steps to make the purchase quick and mindless, what you can do is, for example, organic basics, they don't have the option to quick add to your cart. You have to actually go into the product and look at the product that you are about to buy. And when you are here already, you can take a look at, for example, the product impact. Again, visually very appealing, very funky way of visualizing the environmental, or like the environmental impact. I really like this experience. And there are many more of these patterns. I have a pattern library that we put together. It's called Sustainable E-commerce Pattern Library, source of inspiration, for example, for e-commerce designers. So available for everyone. And I wanted to sum up. I feel I've been talking for quite a while, but I wanted to sum up this presentation. So what I wanted you to take away from this is that we have an overconsumption problem supported by pushy patterns on e-commerce. And for a sustainable future, we need to reduce our consumption. So we need to move from pushy patterns towards e-commerce and online shopping spaces that support us in making more mindful decisions. So we can do that through these kind commerce patterns. So we can make more mindful decisions by slowing down, being more intentional, and being more informed. So thank you for listening. I hope, like, even if you don't work in e-commerce, you learn something new today. Maybe you get inspired to look at sustainability considerations and the relationship between sustainability and UX a bit differently. And yeah, this is just the last slide. I'm Anna. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to talk about anything sustainability. Be Kind Commerce is the website where you can find more information about this topic, and then Sustainable E-commerce Library, Pattern Library, is available for everyone. So thank you, and happy to chat about your thoughts if you have any comments or questions.
Right, Anna, you can hear us from here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I first wanted to say it was a super insightful conversation. I really liked how you could really show how like all these pushy patterns backfire, and really could also show the data to really back this up. So this was really incredible. So one question that I had is actually I also heard that this happened also with a colleague of mine, like really pushing for like these short-term incentives for sales to then backfire in other parts of the organization. But there are, in my experience, there's always these stakeholders who keep trying to push for these, I need to have my quarterly goals met and all of that. And so what would your advice be to deal with these kind of people, to also think more sustainable?
Yeah, great question. I guess when it comes to, like these KPIs or quarterly goals, cutting corners and focusing on those metrics are always going to be like, you always have to deal with those aspects. So I'm not even sure if we can address those in the moment, but more like maybe retrospectively. Okay, we did that last quarter, we did that the quarter before, but we are still bleeding sales on the return side. So are we actually achieving what we want to achieve on the long term if we keep using these pushy patterns. So that would be my approach. So maybe not attacking right in the moment, but building up the case from the metrics before, like the historic metrics.
All right, great. Are there some other questions for Anna? Yes.
Thank you, Anna, for your talk. Very interesting. My gut feeling is here that to really succeed, that we need the government to play a crucial role. So do you have an idea on what's happening at European level, for example, to make e-commerce more sustainable?
Great question. So I just showed you very quickly this LinkedIn post that I saw today. It was about calling out Shein because there are consumer laws or consumer protection laws against, mostly deceptive patterns. So faking reviews, faking scarcity, faking urgency. So there are laws against that. The tricky thing is that it is very difficult to enforce them at scale because there are so many companies there it's very difficult to police them all at the same time. So what happens usually is that when consumers get fed up by being tricked by these pushy patterns, they come together and file a lawsuit against a specific company. So actually companies have to pay fine when these lawsuits happen. But yeah, like the problem is doing it at scale. And then also, for example, there are some patterns that are easier to regulate. For example, the fake countdown clocks or fake scarcity, because you can prove that there was nothing behind it. But when it comes to, for example, cutting out the steps, cutting out the critical thinking part, it's a very, very difficult to regulate, because you can't say that you are doing something bad technically, in a sense that, well, it's just good UX. I help my users save time. So, but yeah, sorry, to answer that, to sum it up, there are regulations, and I should have a list of them somewhere. I don't have at the moment, but that's a good point on my to-do list.
Right. Any more questions? Yes.
Thank you for your talk. I find it very interesting. And I think last week Google came up with the new e-commerce experience, having their AI functionalities and improving them further with the try-ons, virtual try-ons and whatnot. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on this, and how this fits in the pushy patterns bit. Do you think that there will be more gaslighting by AI to buy a product, or do you think it's a positive trend?
Actually, I'm not sure what is it that they launched.
So Shopify, for instance, is now partnering with OpenAI to work together to have a conversational agent actually handling the checkout process. And Google now introduced an AI functionality where you can have virtual try-ons and you can chat with Google essentially to buy a product. And I was just thinking, if you've seen this, and two, what your thoughts are on this in terms of kind commerce.
I haven't seen it. I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but I haven't. I haven't seen it. I'm going to definitely check out. But my immediate thought is, as always with AI, it could swing either way. It could be a very helpful tool to make more mindful decisions. So if I have a partner to chat with, like an AI agent, like okay, I'm looking for something that fits with my existing closet. So, like actually asking them, or asking questions and sparring ideas of like, how can I find something that I'm actually going to wear for a long time? That could be very helpful. Or the other end of the spectrum is like just sending out my agent, like find me anything that like similar to this item and buy it for me. Then I can imagine that that's going to end up with a lot of like buyer's remorse. Like this is not what I imagined. So I'm going to look into this new functionality. Sounds very interesting, but just initial thoughts.
Yeah. All right. One more before we wrap up? If not, then Anna, I really want to thank you for your talk today. We know you're not here right now, and Stockholm is a bit far away, but we hope to welcome you one of these, have some beer with us. So, but thank you, thanks a lot, and hope to talk soon.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for having me. Really lovely.